Hi everyone, my name is Michelle. I'm a therapist in the Seattle, Washington area with my practice, Next Chapter Counseling. And I'm going to be addressing the topic today of how you can keep your relationship strong and vibrant and passionate if for any reason you and your partner are unable to have sex for an extended period of time. Sex is an important part of a romantic relationship, and when things come up in life, whether it is distance, if one of you is traveling for a long period of time, or whether it's because another common reason is if the female in a heterosexual relationship just had a baby, then you cannot typically have intercourse for about 6 weeks or so, sometimes longer, depending. It could be if one of you had a surgery or is sick for a long time. There could be lots of factors that could influence the ability for the two of you to connect and have sexual intercourse. So, what can you do if that's off the table? So, I'm going to give some suggestions today of things to think about for your own relationship and to try out if you find yourself in this scenario. So, the first thing that I suggest, which may seem obvious and also can really get overlooked sometimes, is that it's important to make sure that if you can, you're maintaining touch in other ways. So, this means making sure that when you see each other after, when one of you's been at work or whatever it is, you kiss each other hello, kiss each other before bed, kiss each other in the morning, hold hands when you're sitting next to each other on the couch, give each other back rubs, whatever it is, make sure that you are maintaining physical contact in some way, especially if you're going through a really stressful time, like if you have a newborn baby, or like if one of you just went through a pretty major surgery or things like that. Life can feel very busy. And so, again, while this seems obvious, it's really easy to let this go to the wayside and to start ignoring or neglecting these little opportunities for touch. So make sure you're taking advantage of them. That becomes really important to making sure that you guys are maintaining that romantic couple connection between the two of you is to touch in romantic ways. Building off of that, the second thing that I recommend is to figure out some sexual activities that you can engage in if that's an option for you. Sometimes I think it's very easy for couples to get into this place where they're used to being sexual when they have intercourse, but maybe there are some other sexual activities that they don't do as often or haven't thought of before. And it's important to make sure that if you can, you're having some sexual connection too, because some is better than none. Sometimes people can get into this mindset of if the sexual activity feels like it's a one-way street of one person giving to the other but not being able to receive for various factors, then the person who is receiving feels guilty and can almost be in this position of I'd almost rather we didn't because I feel bad that I can't satisfy you or whatever it is, and to let that idea go. Because again, some is better than none. So think about if there are some sexual activities that you guys can do with each other safely in a way that's, again, not going to impact any physical limitations that you have, but try to make time for that so that there is some sexual intimacy going on to the degree that there can be. The final thing that I recommend has nothing to do with sex or with physical touch or anything like that, but above all, think about what your partner's love language is and try to show love to them in that way. I talk about love languages frequently because it's a great foundation to come back to when life is hard, is to make sure that even if you're dealing with some other stressful factors or some big changes, that you are still showing love to each other in the way that you can. This can be done even in a long distance relationship. It gets tougher. You have to be a little more creative. But if you're making sure that above all, both of you are giving love to each other in that person's preferred love language, this will really help you weather this time when your sexual connection may be lacking more than it would typically is to make sure that you guys are giving love in other ways that really resonate and hit home for that person. Again, if one of your love languages is touch, that's where the first tip I gave became really important, in making sure that you are touching in small ways throughout your day when you are together. So, those are some things to think about. Make sure that you guys are still maintaining touch and giving each other loving affection. Try to be sexual in the ways that you can be, even if it's not by having intercourse. And also make sure that you're attending to each other's love languages. And that will hopefully help keep your relationship strong until you are able to be sexually intimate fully again in the way that you'd like to be. If you have a question for me about love or relationships, send it to me in an email at nextchapter.michelle@gmail.com. Thanks, everyone.